Frutiger Aero. For those of you who aren't familiar with the term, you might be thinking, why are you speaking Latin all of a sudden? But before you go there, let me explain what Frutiger Aero is. Look at the old Instagram logo, and now look at the new one. Same with Snapchat and Facebook. See a pattern? The new ones are flat, minimal, and honestly, kind of boring. But the old ones, 3D, colorful, and futuristic. That older look? That's Frutiger Aero. But it's not just logos that fit into this aesthetic. Let's take a look at an image. When you glance at it, you might notice a few things. Lots of nature, bright blue skies, a futuristic looking city, grass that's greener than green, bubbles, bright sun rays, animals. You might even feel a sense of bliss. Because the image looks peaceful, kind of like an utopia. And that's exactly what this aesthetic is trying to convey. Technology was just starting to emerge, and people were curious about what the world might look like decades into the future, thanks to the rapid developments. The new tech companies took full advantage of that curiosity, marketing the future as a peaceful paradise. It was their way of saying, hey, see these images? This is what technology will eventually bring. No one expected content like this to resurface decades later. So, in 2004, Frutiger Aero was born. Of course, they didn't call it that back in the day. The name was given in 2017 by a photographer named Sophie Lee, who combined Windows Aero and the Frutiger font. How she came up with that, I have no idea. One of the earliest and most famous examples I can think of is the Windows Vista background. Light colors, sun rays here and there, and a whole lot of glow. While not all the elements I mentioned earlier are visible in that background, one key aspect is the futuristic vibe. It paints a picture of something advanced, giving us hope that, with technology, imagery like this could become reality someday. Now, do I think we'll ever see a scene like this in real life? Probably not, but it does look futuristic. Maybe that wasn't the best example though. So let's move on to another Windows background. The Windows 7 background, again, futuristic, but this time more nature-oriented. There are blue skies here and there, bright sun rays, and in and around the Windows logo, you'll see butterflies, bubbles, and plants. Another attempt by Microsoft to convey hope in the future of tech. But we have had enough of Microsoft. It's time to go on to the next destination, which is Nintendo. I think almost everyone remembers the Wii, one of the greatest consoles ever made, and one I grew up on. As a kid, I was always amazed by how it looked, from the design of the console itself to the design inside of it. To me, it felt like technology had so much potential, and I think that was Nintendo's intention when they designed it. Especially when you look at the Wii menu, a lot of people point to it when they hear Frutiger Aero, but I could never really put my finger on why. It looked pretty bland to me, at first, but then I realized it had this futuristic feeling. Sure, it was minimal, but scrolling through it felt advanced. The bright blue lights, the UI design, and that little tune playing in the background. It screamed futuristic, and that aesthetic continued on their next console, the Wii U. But it's not just online where this aesthetic shows up. Let's touch some grass and check out some real-life places that give off this vibe. So, look at this image right here. A futuristic looking store that honestly looks AI generated. Bright colors, a random flower, and this sleek, modern setup. It just looks like something from the future. From what I know, this used to exist in Germany as an O2 store, but they changed it up and now it's gone. Not 100% sure on that though, correct me if I'm wrong. I think we've seen enough examples. You probably get the point. So now, the question is, how and why did it disappear? Let's look at 2014 and the years that followed. That's where everything went from looking like this to this. Every futuristic, hopeful design slowly turned into a flat, minimal version of itself. I remember noticing it as a kid, like when Roblox decided to go from this to whatever the this is. This whole overhaul didn't happen for no reason. There were a few factors. Simple design was being seen as more desirable. It was more clean, modern, and professional. On top of that, creating something in Frutiger Aero style took a lot more time and resources. So for the sake of speed and optimization, that whole aesthetic had to go. And this change didn't just affect digital spaces, it bled into real life too. We went from a world that looks happy and bright to one that's just black and white. Maybe I'm biased because of childhood nostalgia, but I swear everything around me used to look colorful, optimistic, and full of life. Now it feels like goths have taken over the world. But don't worry, there's kind of a comeback. Sort of. So, where else will we look at other than TikTok? On there, aesthetics are always getting revived, or entirely new ones are being made. There even was this one image that went viral as a meme. And before anyone jumps in with, but that's Frutiger Aqua, or whatever, I don't care. They're the same to me. TikTok's audience is mostly Gen Z who are now old enough to look back at their childhoods and remember being surrounded by images like these. That nostalgia brought new attention to the aesthetic. And honestly, it's what got me in this whole thing too. While TikTok gave it a big boost, you'll also find content on YouTube. Mostly playlist videos, but they are doing their thing. The comeback isn't strong enough to say it's fully back from the dead. Maybe one day, companies and designers will rethink their direction. Maybe we'll finally see our world gain color again. And that promised future will actually start to show up. If it doesn't, I'll be sad, but you know, I'll just design my own house in that exact style. Or maybe like this one. I don't know, I haven't picked so far. Anyway, the discussion's done. It's time to look at a few more images. Just a reminder, this was our promised future. And now that I think about it, with the way things are going, especially with climate change and everything, maybe I really do have to dream on. Anyway, it's time to end the video. If there are more aesthetics you want me to cover or any other video ideas, drop them in the comments and I'll see you all in the next one.